and welcome. I I gave this a similar presentation in 2020. Okay, and I kind of had all my pictures in boxes, and I did think that one box from definitely one box from my mother, one box from his mother, and we had all this stuff. And at that time, I thought, okay, well, giving the presentation is going to spur me on to do something about these boxes. I'm going to, do the research and get started and whatever. And I did feel like a little bit like a fraud giving the advice when I hadn't done it myself. But anyway, am in the same position now that I was then. I don't know if I put a hand on any of these pictures in the meantime, but not quite the same place, because what I did was I thought this time I'm going to put the horse before the cart instead of the cart after the horse. And I did actually take out some boxes and start with sorting. And then I read in one of the boxes, Z, who is the quintessential librarian, gave me 9 books to read on organizing photographs. Shoot me. Anyway, I can't say I read every word in every book, but I did like, I was glad to have the books, believe me. But one of the books they talked about sorting by category. Come up with your categories. And I was very pleased with myself because I had done that. I had decided it was going to be like my family of origin and my husband's family of origin and our family that, we've been married over 50 years. So our family. And that would be 3 main categories. And then of course they talked about, subcategories. And I haven't yet quite decided what I'm going to do about subcategories, but I did want to say, well, anyway, one of my goals when I started, in addition to, like the big sort out and the big organization thing, was basically to get rid of a lot of pictures. I was sure that there were things in there where I had no clue who anybody was, and pictures that are blurry and everything else. But the problem with those things is that it seems ridiculous to save them and a sin to throw them out. Like they were in the box from my mother, right, or John's mother. So that's kind of an issue. But like there were pictures where I would know a cousin or two, or I recognize my grandmother and nobody else. But like some of those I saved. I wish I had done this earlier because I have lots of cousins on my mother's side, and they, but they're all older than me, which means that a lot of them are deceased. So I don't have, if I had done this a lot earlier, I might have had references to say, like, who the heck is this? And they could have helped me out, but I don't have that anymore. So anyway, I did manage to get rid of a couple of pictures, not too many. But like I said, I was very pleased that I had chosen to start organizing by category. Now, let me just go back. I want to talk about the categories that they talked about, because families was my category, but that wouldn't work. It wouldn't be for everybody. One of the things they suggested was grouping chronologically by decades, which also kind of made sense. John had done that. My husband had done that with his pictures. He had started separating them like by the 50s and the 60s, so that was that. To me, that's a logical way to do it. They also suggested the possibility of by person, by holiday, but I don't know if I went like all my Easter pictures together, like over 50 years. I don't know, or location. All right. There were suggestions, and like I didn't find those as usable, but for some people they might work. They might like to have all the pictures from their vacation house year after year after year, and it might be very meaningful. But to me, the thing was to divide them by family, and then you know I'll have to come up with subcategories in there. But one of the suggestions was by the album that they came from. Like if you were taking pictures out of the album, which you probably will do, especially if you're like me to have those sticky albums that we had in the 70s. And by shape. I can't imagine trying to sort. I mean, I guess maybe by size of the picture, but it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. And they also suggested like round pictures. I was like, who has round pictures? I have no idea who has a round picture. But anyway, so those categories didn't make a lot of sense to me. And one thing that they do suggest is to keep portraits, and by that they really meant more like school pictures, that sort of thing, separate, which kind of does make a little bit of sense. You might want to, put one, if you have a bunch of kids, put your kids' pictures in the chronological order or something like that, one for each kid, whatever, it would work for you. But I can see like taking those out of the family pictures and leaving those as a separate category. So, has anybody here sorted their pictures by category? Have you attempted any sorting? And if so, what did you do besides throwing out the blurry ones? What shape are your photos in, Linda?
Am I unmuted or am I muted?
You're unmuted. You're unmuted.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, they're in lots and lots of albums.
Okay.
And the old albums, when Kirsten was born, the album is falling apart. It was, I liked it in the beginning. It had these strips and you could slip your pictures into the strips. But you're absolutely right. Because you used to develop the whole film, you had so many bad ones, so I've done a little bit of actually putting them into the recycle. At least it's recycling the paper that they're on. But I have in my bookshelves chronological, they really go, and it is so much fun for us to see the children, and even, well, I think you're probably going to talk about digital photos, because recently people have they can't find what they want to show you. That has happened a couple of times recently. Conrad had one today that said 8 years ago, and looking, he was surrounded by the 6 grandchildren. And you can't believe the difference in 8 years, with these little ones.
Yeah, well, it is interesting. I mean, I don't know how many of you have iPhones, but it is interesting with the iPhone to see, every once in a while you get this surprise thing, like one of your kids, like through the years,
Right.
or like Montana, 1917, I mean 19 or 18, listen to me, 2017 or something like that, because we were out there for a wedding, right? It's funny to and it's kind of nice to see the pictures that way, but you really can't preserve that little,
right,
as far as I know anyway. Maybe there is a way to do it, preserve that little, walk down memory lane.
Yeah.
So without, because you can go back to your pictures and take a look. But I will get to digital pictures. It's not my forte, and actually it's not my forte particularly with the cartons, but I'm getting there. I'm actually started, so that's good. That's good news. And now that I'm started, I think I will, get there.
Pat, I was going to tell you that this is Beverly. I'm visible.
Yeah, I can see you. Okay.
What I had done, like before we moved and put everything in storage, I had gone to the Container Store and I had taken the photos out of the paper, with the negatives.
Yeah.
And all that, and I put it in these plastic containers, so you had a big square, like a little suitcase, and it has 10 plastic boxes in it.
I do have that. It has a handle on the top, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I have one of those too. I don't even know what's in there right now.
What? I didn't hear you.
I said I'm not even sure what's in there right now. I haven't looked at that in a while.
Well, I put, like, I had about 8 of them or 10 of them, and then you never look at them. So I going through them on holidays, and I give them to the kids and say, Happy Hanukkah. I give them files. So So I have those, and then I don't have any just plain envelopes, but I have 40 or 50 albums,
Uh-huh.
family photos. And, the kids said to me, oh, don't take them apart yet. Like that was 5 years ago. They haven't looked at one.
Right, I know.
And then I also have a box. I have several boxes. I did family, both sides, like you suggested. And then I had some envelopes for friends, as I
Mhm.
came across those photos. And but so those were supposed to be my top 500 photos, but there's probably 1,500 in them. So that's kind of where I am, and it's not a comfortable place to be.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard to know. I mean, like, and the thing is, what we really should do is probably have periodic times when we take out a box and look at it and all. It's but you also don't want to get rid of the photos. Like you don't want. What we have to get better about is like getting rid of duplicates or giving away duplicates and that sort of thing. But once the photos are gone, they're gone. And that's the issue. And all of us have that push pull with the you know you want to clean things up and reduce the amount of pictures and but like, oh, I can't give away this one, I can't give away that one, so
Well, but the problem really is they're essentially gone in that I don't know where one of them is. Do you know what I mean? Like you just you can't find anything. And if I want to go through something, like I was looking for pictures of my aunt who passed away, I had to go through the physical albums, like my mother's physical albums and mine
yeah,
from high school. And those are big albums, like remember how we used to do it with the picture corners and the black
right, I
paper?
remember, yeah.
Yeah, so I have a bunch of those too.
Mhm.
And it's just it's unwieldy and you really can't access anything. So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know, that you know what I mean? Like so I say, oh well, what if I did throw them out? I'm I'm sorry, Pepper. I don't think I would notice.
Well, see, that's the thing is that, like you agonize over whether to get rid of a picture and all. And the thing is, you probably haven't looked at it in like 5 years and you don't know if you're ever going to look at it again. But, and your kids may not know who it is if it doesn't have a name on the back. you know,
Yes. Yeah, someone
so
suggested to me, what they suggested is to take some of these family photos of groups of people, make a Xerox copy and write the names in so
uh
they could have it, they would know who the
right.
people are.
A cheat sheet.
Yes, yes. Which is actually a good idea, but it's like more work.
Yeah, well, it's the thing is, no matter what you're going to do with these pictures, it's going to be a job.
Mhm.
And it's going to be emotional, like Z had addressed the emotional issues, and yeah, we can talk about that. It's uh yeah. I saved that kind of for the end, the emotional problems here. But anyway, so one of the things that I came across, and this was I thought interesting to me, I was kind of hoping that Jackie Leone would be on for tonight because she's she's studying to be a librarian and she's learning about archiving things. And uh, one of the things about materials for handling these pictures, um, like you should have them in um, acid-free boxes, archival acid-free boxes, or envelopes, acid-free envelopes, and a pen. The pen should be an acid-free pen that you use on these things. So I did buy myself an archival box. I think that's where I'm going to start. To start my sorting. I probably should have at least 3 boxes, but I'll start with 1 box. And I am putting them in this archival box, just like I'm just going through my mother's pictures right now. And uh, so I won't even go into right now that those issues, but just with the archival stuff, if I do know names, I really want to put them on the back. But so much of what I read was like, you can't have, it has to be an acid-free archival pen, which I have found them. But another place, now they didn't say it was talking about archival pens, but you have to worry about bleed through. So the ink doesn't come to the front of the picture, even though you're writing on the back. So I saw a lot of archival pens that said they would be, that you could write on the glossy finish of the front. I guess it must be for autographing photos. I don't know. But nothing that said whether if you're writing on the back of a picture, whether it's going to be whether it's going to bleed through to the front of the picture. So that's kind of a mystery. And I'm, a little hesitant to do that because once that happens to a picture, you're done. But anyway, but I was really interested. I would also say you should handle the pictures with gloves. So I'd have to get I do have some very thin gloves that maybe I could use, but I have not yet gone, that to that length. But anyway, so that was really a surprise to me. But that's something that we should be thinking about because and I said, oh well, for the old pictures. And then I stopped and I thought, well, all these pictures are going to be old. So they probably all should be in acid-free boxes. So I'll work on that. But sorting is going to be, important right now. I have one acid-free box. I forget what it cost me. Something like 25 bucks, I think. And it's not that big, 9 by 12. And 9 by 12 by 2, maybe. But definitely I think that's the route to go if you really want to save pictures, and especially for those older pictures. Okay. I didn't come paid, right? I have to find out where my other what I did the other place. Otherwise we're gonna get lost in the woods here. Okay, so those materials. All right. The second suggestion I did allude to a little bit was like subcategories. So once you have your your category, like I said, I was going to do it by family. So maybe a subcategory that I could use would be like by decades. So like, chronologically and divide things into decades. Because if you just pile all, like my family pictures in one box and my husband's family pictures in another box, that's still kind of a big mishmash. And it's over how many years, I mean, we're talking, the pictures I have from my mother probably go back to the 30s. I don't have anything from my father's side family. None, not one picture. But for my mother's side of the family, oh yeah, no, I shouldn't say that because in my living room, I have pictures of my grandmother and grandfather when they were married in 1900 something. So that's the kind of, that's like a subcategory, but you have to do the categories, whatever makes sense for you. But I think it is going to be helpful no matter what categories you use to have subcategories. Now in my own mind, the categories goes in a box and the subcategories go in envelopes, acid-free envelopes. I do have to find something that I can write on the back of these pictures with. Okay. All right. I thought I hesitated about the box, and I had almost forgotten, Beverly, about those container store things, and I do have one with lots of. I know some of my son's wedding pictures are in there. One of my son's wedding pictures. And I don't know how plastic is. I haven't seen anything about plastic. Like paper, I think can be a problem, like paper boxes or paper envelopes because of this acid issue. I don't know how plastic fits into that picture. I've yet to find out in what I've read. So I don't know if that's a good way to store it or not. I suppose if it gets really hot, maybe it's not. I have no idea. Anyway, because that's another thing. Where are you going to store the pictures? Are they going to be in the attic? That's kind of hot. If in the basement, it could be wet. It's like, put them on the dining room table and leave them there. That might be the best solution of all. I don't know. Okay, so all right. Okay, but I think my thought is the albums, and it may be easier in a way to look at an album. It is nice to leaf through an album, but the thing is, the albums take up a lot of room. And Beverly, you said you had so many. I can imagine that they take up a tremendous amount of room. So that's where if you could put them in a box or that sort of thing, or digital, they might be better off. Okay. Okay. Now, backing up pictures. This is really probably where it's at now when it comes to pictures. Like I said, it's easy to damage pictures. You got to worry about insects. You've got to worry about heat. You've got to worry about water. Where am I going to put these where they're not in, I'm not tripping over them, but they're safe. So that's a problem. And backup because no matter what you do, something could happen, and if you should have a backup copy. Now one book I suggested 2 backup copies. And I'm thinking, listen, I'm lucky if I can get 1 done myself, but and of course the best one may be digital. But you can't rely on leaving like one digital copy. I mean, something could wipe that out. Like if you have your digital copy on your computer, the computer, hard drive could be fried or something, and then you're out of luck. So um there's different ways to do things. I was talking to my brother today, who lives in Kansas, and he was telling me about this device that he has called Picture Keeper, which sounded great. It sounds like a little, flash drive kind of thing, and you can go into your phone. There's one apparently for Android phones and one for Apple, assuming your computer goes along with the system that you have. Like if you have an Apple and a Mac, like an iPhone and a Mac, or an Android phone and Windows. And you can get the pictures out of your phone, or at least copied onto this thing. It won't copy 2 copies of the same thing. So you don't have to worry, like if you did it before, that you're going to be, have like 12 copies of the same picture on there. And then you can put it in your computer to transfer the pictures to your computer. Okay, which sounds lovely.
Is on the.
But the thing is that I did look at I did look on Amazon to see if I could find this thing, and I found it, but I can't see, and they have a lot of different kinds. I couldn't see anything that actually corresponded with what he had said. Something that would, have like, it has like, from what he said, it has 2 poles. One fits in your phone, whichever kind of phone you have, and the other end is a USB port, which would fit in your computer. So I have to do a little bit more research on that, because it sounds like a wonderful thing. They're not cheap, but if it does that, that would be terrific, because I think the pictures would also be stored in this thing. But I couldn't find anything that actually just seemed to meet the thing that he had. So I have to find out about that. But there are devices like that which would be, very helpful. Another thing that you can do, and this is what I think would be pretty interesting, is to go to a camera store. Now, I think that's the dying breed right there, but there are camera stores, and a lot of camera stores will take your pictures and digitize them. They'll do the scanning and all that. I think, and it probably would be a good idea to go with them in some kind of order, so that they're not just doing random pictures. I don't know. You'd have to, check with the camera store. I haven't gotten that far to take care of that. I think you can do it yourself, but it helps to have a dedicated scanner to that, rather than your printer scanner, I think, which I don't think that's a cheap deal, having a scanner. I've heard things like $200. And it would also be a tremendous amount of work. I mean, a lot of us have thousands of pictures. So to scan all these pictures, to have them in some kind of order and scan them, would not be impossible, but it'd be very time consuming, I think, to do. And I don't know if we would do the same kind of a job, or as good a job as a professional like a camera shop would do. So that would be my advice. Hand off this.
Pat,
Yeah.
This is Beverly.
Yeah.
I use legacybox.com,
Uh-huh.
legacybox.com. And so every once in a while, like around holidays, they have these big sales, and you can
Uh-huh.
buy the quantity of scans, whether it's 200, 500, 1,000, and then they ship you a box, and they have you put your envelopes in. So like you could take your different family members, and it would be in one envelope or container, and then the other one would be in another one, and you could like write down the numbers, and then which family member it is. And they did a pretty good job. I gave them 1,000 photos,
Uh-huh.
and they did pretty good. I mean, realistically, it's very hard to scan those kinds of quantities. At least I found it.
Yeah, I think it would be, and that's why I was suggesting a camera store. The thing is that I have heard of Legacy Box. I wasn't thinking of that. I mean, I've heard of it in the past, but I wasn't thinking of that. I think my issue would be like, I'm putting all my memories in this box and sending it off and waiting for it to come
Yeah.
back.
Well,
What if it doesn't come back?
well,
What
what
if
I
something
did,
happens to it? What if the truck winds up on, I-95 or someplace?
well, so that's why, all right, so it just had to get there. And I split my orders up, by the way. I got 3 smaller orders
Yeah,
instead
yeah.
of 1 large one. So you select digital, right?
Yeah.
And then they put it online. So if it doesn't come back to you, the physical box, you at least have the digital ones. No, but it really, I've never heard them lose anything. I
Right.
mean,
Yeah.
the same thing could happen when you take it to a camera store
I
because they're
suppose the camera store could have a fire that night, right?
well, but they're not scanning them. They're giving them out to somebody. The
Yeah.
camera store isn't scanning it. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
They've gone and hired someone else, so
Yeah.
someone else has to take it too.
Yeah.
So
Well, that's good to hear that you've been happy with them, because like I said, I had heard of those. And I haven't, I don't have any experience, haven't done anything like that. So that's good to know. Now, so you get it like emailed back to you. You don't actually get like a hard drive with the
oh,
pictures.
I did everything. I got flash drives. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Then I got digital downloads.
Uh-huh.
And then they sent me my physical pictures back. And so
Yeah.
the kids could download, I had to twist their arms to
Uh-huh.
download. And
Yeah.
the thing is that I gave them the little flash drives, and I'm not sure anybody knows where it is.
Uh-huh.
But I made them download it to their computers, and they're still complaining about how much space it's taking. But
Well, pictures do take space, yeah.
yeah. But so you have multiple options there.
Mhm.
You can just
Yeah.
pay a little extra and you get a lot. So I have all the flash drives, and then I have it in the cloud, and then my kids
Can I
have
see
it
me
too.
if I sit there?
Yeah.
So,
Well, that's interesting. I think that's something that we, to look into for the backup, because they really, I mean, I was beginning to feel it was kind of like dire when I was listening, all the things about, um uh back the like things that could happen to your pictures.
well, one of the things, I mean, I did a lot of research. So I have these external hard drives on
Mhm.
top of everything to back up my computer.
Yeah.
And what they tell you is every 5 years to get an updated external drive and re-back up everything. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like a never ending thing.
Right. Yeah, because people can, they can predict that there's all these different possibilities that we wouldn't think of, but I mean, like, you could wear yourself out thinking of all the possibilities, I think.
Well, the other thing that I was thinking as we were talking, I think the most reliable place to keep these are in the cloud. So if you didn't want to fool around with backup drives, you could put it in the cloud in 2 places, 2 different
Uh-huh.
companies, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. So I really wanted to also touch on, I mean, we do have quite a bit of time left, I guess, because I think we can go to 8:30, but um, I wanted to touch on the emotional part of this, because you know, I think about the decision making, which is really tough, and actually that can cause a drain too. But you look at the pictures, and there's always like, oh, like there's the house I grew up in. Oh my goodness, and oh, the memories that brings back. And there's, like maybe there's grandma and grandpa when they were the age you are now, and you're thinking about all these things, but um uh, and those are very good memories, and it's nice to be able to see. Like, I was going through the pictures, I'm seeing my mother I mean, before I even was born, and you know, I had some of these pictures I had seen when I was a kid, and like there's a good feeling about that, but there's also you can also begin to feel the loss, the loss of the people that are past, that have passed, that you loved and cherished, or friends that really meant a lot to you that are now gone. And there's also the fact that some of these pictures may show people who hurt you, who caused you pain. And those are pictures. My suggestion for that would be, like, get rid of them. You don't want to be reminded, oh, there's no reason to keep pictures that are going to bring you pain. Yes, it was a part of your life, but you're not actually going to forget it. But you don't need it in the forefront, and you don't need it to be like unexpected. Like, you turn over a page and there, where you're flipping through pictures, and then all of a sudden you see something that reminds you of something that was very painful in your life. So I would say, you have to think of your own mental health when you're going through these. And I think most of us, I mean, I don't think it's all that common to find pictures of people, who were, unless you were, abused as a kid, finding pictures of people that really hurt. But the possibility is there. And more common is the fact that we mourn. We've mourned once. We've gone through this when we've lost people, and to see the pictures and so what my suggestion with that is, just remember what those people brought to your life, and that and how grateful you are that you had them in your life, and also that you're the person that you are now because of that they were in your life. So that's the kind of I guess we have to be our own therapist in this, and not and be conscious of what the pictures are pulling for, and where you are today is not back then in 1952. Things are different now. So I don't know. Anybody have anything that they want to add to this? We have time. I guess I thought I had enough here, but maybe not. So my last bit of advice, which I put on here actually, is like, Rome wasn't built in a day. And none of us are going to take a day to do these pictures. I mean, it's, because most of us, when we've reached adulthood, have, and especially if our parents have passed and left boxes for us, we're not going to deal with this in a day. And, it's going to be an ongoing process. But it's something that we should keep in mind, because it would be like, it's going to be like a gift to our kids. Or other relatives who would really enjoy having a collection that's well maintained, well labeled, or well digitized. So I would like to know what other people's thoughts here. I don't think we have too many people.
Right. And am I muted? Still muted, or you?
No, you're not muted. You're not muted.
Oh,
You can see if you're muted, a little red microphone comes up in the left-hand corner
okay.
of your picture, and it's not there. And I can hear you, so you're not muted.
Okay. I was just thinking how I did buy some boxes. I haven't looked at them in a little while, but and the idea is, so Millicent has my mother's name as her middle name.
Uh-huh.
So there are, I have my mother's, really, when she came to the United States, the picture, I don't think it's a passport, or maybe it's a passport, I don't really know. But all those early things, I am going to give it to Millicent. I decided when she's 16. I don't know. She's not quite 12, so
Yeah,
I have a little bit of time. But and Vivian has Conrad's grandmother's name, so anything there will go. And and my father to Craig, all that stuff. But I have them there, and I hope they'll treasure them, because there are, from my dad, those really early things that well, that's my hope, is that they will treasure them. And I am, when I come across a special picture or something, I'm, they're sort of being put in that place. But I do have to sit and organize it, right? You
Yeah.
know, that,
But you know what I think is also important, as you was talking, I was thinking, whatever you know about these people, and you might not know a lot, like, you know, like I know more about some of my really, my paternal grandfather, I probably know the most about. But whatever you know about them, you probably should write down.
yeah,
You know, it's not going to be a whole family history or anything. You're not going to have like a lot of information, but the thing is that it makes a connection for this person. And I think giving these pictures to somebody who bears that person's name is really a genius idea. Like I wouldn't have thought about that, but uh, my oldest grandchild has my father's name as a middle name,
yeah, right.
and my oldest granddaughter has John's aunt's name as a middle name because that was her my son's godmother. Her father's godmother was John's aunt. So she has that name. So it would probably be very interesting for them to see the pictures and to have a little, you know, whatever information we have about, you know, their lives.
Yeah.
That's a very thoughtful idea. But
I was so pleased when, for example, Drew did that, you know,
yeah,
that I hadn't expected it. They didn't tell us, you know,
yeah,
so I was really pleased with that.
yeah.
And we did name Drew Conrad's father's name as his middle name. So um I probably have that on the list too, that Drew will get Clifford's whatever we have, you know, whatever.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, it's just you know, it's like you want, I know that I wish I had more information about people, you know, like than I do. Um I know that my paternal grandfather came over from Ireland in 1901. And you may have heard, I mean, if I've told you this story, stop me.
No, tell us.
But the only reason that I know, I think that it was 1901. I think it probably would have been lost in history, except that uh, he couldn't get off the boat. He couldn't get onto Ellis Island because McKinley had been shot, and the government shut down for 5 days. So it wasn't until they buried McKinley that he could get off the boat
Wow. That's a
and be,
wonderful story.
and be processed at Ellis Island. And
Yeah.
then now I don't know what he did between 1901 and 1903, but in 1903, that's when he started working for the IRT. And the IRT only was started in 1903. So the first job was to dig the subway. So I imagine that he spent a lot of his time as a young man digging the subway tunnel. All right. And then he worked, I know in 1940, he was still working for the IRT, but it was being transferred to New York because they had an interview. I have a carbon copy of an interview that he did with New York City because they were taking over. He was going to be their employee. And they had questions about, you know, where he was born and where he did, you know, so that's that I have I have more information about him than anybody else. And you know, my mother's father died when she was 20 months old.
20 months old.
20 months, yeah. So he's leaving his wife with 7 kids. So so there
Yeah.
wasn't much information there either, you know. So, but yeah. So I mean, I think, but I think what we know, which in my case isn't a lot, but I probably should be writing it down.
Yeah. Yeah.
For people, you know, to know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what John. We have a picture hanging in our dining room of John's maternal grandparents' wedding picture when they were married in Italy. But I don't know when. I don't know anything about it.
Yeah. Right.
So.